that is trailing, and here the helicopters that are overhead putting potentially, eventually, maybe putting a spotlight on this car. But driving at high speeds on the freeway now.
Near Rocky Peak, that was the last locator we had on our Extreme Nav system on the 118 freeway, and it looks like exiting Rocky Peak now. So we'll see what happens. Again, a blacked out vehicle here, lights not on, and look at that. Look at that.
To it.
Yep, LAPD, they may try to do that pit maneuver, but again, the threshold for those pit maneuvers typically around 45, 50 miles an hour. But there's a wide open road here. There's no other vehicles that we're seeing, so this would be a good time. Well, there's one on the opposing side there. This would be a good time to try to nudge the back end. It's the pursuit to intervention technique to spin that vehicle out and disable it.
You know, Rick, I'm thinking, though, that is a pretty dark stretch of road there as this vehicle heads towards Simi Valley. I'm wondering, for the safety of the officer as well, do you go to a better area where there's a little bit more light?
You just don't know what the mindset is of the person being pursued at this time. They're just trying to get away. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect. But this is that stretch of road that connects the San Fernando Valley with Simi Valley there, off the 118 freeway. It's the Santa Susana Pass that you climb up on the 118 freeway, and then you take a dip down into Simi Valley if you're heading westbound out of the valley, out of LA County into Ventura County. You can see speeds down a bit, but then back up again. A wide open roadway here. And you can see at least the one unit, but there's likely some other units tailing behind the one lead vehicle from the Los Angeles Police Department. In the valley, that's LAPD jurisdiction there. There could be a helicopter above as well.
Well, and what we're looking at here is the Santa Susana Pass Road, which as we know, if anybody that's driven that before, is a windy road. And if anybody's driven that at night, it's a dark road.
It is.
And you think about how dangerous this is for the person driving this vehicle to have no headlights on and making all of these different turns on this road at night as well has got to be scary.
And we don't know if the driver is familiar with this area at all. We know that there are times where people being pursued do like to go to neighborhoods that they know, but this picked up on the 118 freeway, heading towards Simi Valley, exiting at Rocky Peak, now through the Santa Susana Pass, heading westbound into the Simi Valley area, coming out of the San Fernando Valley and LA County.
I'm wondering if this driver got off the 118 freeway because they don't know that area to the west. It is a darker stretch of freeway, not a lot of population in some areas on that 118. Wondering if that driver thought, you know what, I don't know this area, I don't know the safe escape routes for me, again, stolen vehicle. Perhaps the reason the driver got off onto surface streets and making their way perhaps to an area that might be more well lit, where they can see the road and pick up those speeds, and perhaps an area they know.
On Cooner Drive now in Simi Valley proper, and now that we are in Ventura County, it's likely that the Simi Valley Police Department is going to get involved. It'll be a mutual aid type of situation. Again, picking up the pursuit in the San Fernando Valley. That means the LAPD was the lead on this. A stolen vehicle suspect. The vehicle's blacked out. You could see the roadway there pretty much wide open, and you could see that was the 118 freeway, which this pursuit was on for a time.
I mean, is there a reason now that a little bit more room, I mean, wouldn't this be a situation where they would be able to pit maneuver this person?
It is, because when you don't see other vehicals there, and it looks like this could be a dead end, a little cul-de-sac, making a 180 there.
Wow.
And getting away, now heading the opposite direction. You saw all those units, 4, 5, 6 units there, trailing this vehicle, and that night sun illuminating that vehicle that did not have its headlights on for a time. So we do have pursuit with a helicopter from likely the LAPD on top of it, in addition to the ground units. But that was a cul-de-sac. You saw that, doing a 180.
You know, it's easy to play armchair quarterback as we watch this, but keep in mind, if they did that, let's say a pit maneuver right there in that circular area, you had all those police cars who could have been in the way, boxed in perhaps.
And look at this.
We don't know if this person is armed.
And look at the speeds now. It was north of 80 miles an hour for a time there, that vehicle was. We just lost the signal for a second there from up in Skyfox. Skyfox had to do a 180 as well to continue to track this. Still on Cooner Drive in Simi Valley, near the 118 freeway there. And we'll likely be coming up on the 118 freeway in just a moment. We'll see if the vehicle chooses to get the suspect. And we believe it's just the driver that's inside that vehicle chooses to get back on the 118 freeway.
Or do they go back to that Santa Susana Pass, which is, you know, which is obviously dark and windy and all the rest of it?
Well,
but
clearly
that's where they're going.
He didn't know the neighborhood because, or she, because he ran in, or she ran into a dead end, a cul-de-sac there, and had to do that 180, but was able to navigate around the officers, and the pursuit continues here. Santa Susana Pass Road. Again, this is that stretch of roadway. It's the old 118, the old Ronald Reagan Freeway. Before the 118 was there, this was the road that you would take to connect the San Fernando Valley with the Simi Valley here. Speeds now 60 miles an hour. Extreme nav system on it through the Santa Susana Pass. You can see the one lead vehicle there, likely still LAPD, because that's where the pursuit first took off in the San Fernando Valley. And you could see the night sun illuminating this all from above.
Well, Rick Dickert, having flown so many years in Skyfox, you know these roads very well yourself.
And this time of night, and it's a weeknight, not a lot of people out on this Wednesday evening, and that stretch of roadway there isn't the most popular now that you do have the 118 freeway. Maybe an alternate during the morning rush or the evening rush to get around the backup, but for the most part, this is a light volume stretch of roadway, and that's what we're seeing here now. And we'll see if one of those officers does indeed try that pit maneuver. That's an acronym for a pursuit intervention technique, nudging either the left side or right side of the rear end of that vehicle, trying to spin it out. We did hear initially, Alex and Christine, that they did try to deploy a spike strip.
That's what we heard, but that it was not successful. And as we watch this version of driving the Santa Susana Pass Road, it feels a little bit safer now that that night sun is illuminating all of this, and it isn't in total darkness for that driver on these windy turns here. And then you see there's one other random car. That was
yeah, but that's a two-lane stretch of road there, and it's dangerous. I mean, this could be a situation where we see, oh yeah, see, almost a head-on right there, because it's an undivided road there, and there's just two lanes. It gets really narrow there. And this is a very dangerous situation. And we have seen in the past, especially now that we have the helicopter up, likely an LAPD helicopter illuminating this vehicle, following this vehicle. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect here being pursued. They may back off if it becomes too dangerous. And they're in an area where there is higher volume on the roadway for the safety of others. But right now, the pursuit continues, and you can see that lead vehicle, that LAPD vehicle, and crossing over the line there. That's what I'm talking about, the possibility of that head-on crash.
Well, you know, I think for law enforcement, really time is on their side. You don't have pedestrians here. You don't have a lot of other traffic there for the most part. That is a dangerous move to see the driver cross those yellow lines. But for the most part, there aren't a lot of cars on the road. Perhaps it's in their interest to let this vehicle get to an area that is more well lit.
And bottom line, let this be a teachable moment. If you ever encounter something like that, and you can see the 118 freeway there. Again, this is on the Santa Susana Pass Road, which is adjacent to the 118 freeway. That windy stretch of roadway there through the Santa Susana Pass, those hills near Rocky Peak, which separates the San Fernando Valley with Simi Valley. Crossing over the line again there. Sometimes the units will back off just because of the safety to other individuals, and they'll continue to track it from the air. But this is continuing here, and it's a dangerous high-speed pursuit at times. An alleged stolen vehicle suspect leading the Los Angeles Police Department on this pursuit.
And when Skyfox backs out, you do get a sense of just how dark that area is. And without that night sun, it would just be complete darkness out there with this driver not
crossing over in the wrong
over.
direction. You saw that. Yeah, it's a very dangerous situation. And again, please, if you ever encounter anything like this, do not try to be a hero. Back off. Give the officers plenty of room. You don't know what we're dealing with, or they're dealing with the suspects like this. They could be armed. They're very dangerous. That is a deadly weapon. That vehicle is a deadly weapon, and it can cause a lot of harm, damage, and we've seen horrific collisions in the past with these situations. So just back off, pull over to the side, give the officers plenty of help, and let them do their jobs.
And this person could also be driving under the influence.
No question, absolutely.
Which we don't know based off of the way they're driving and the way that they are making decisions to flee at this point.
Would Dennis Zine, our police experts, say that the driver does have control of the vehicle at pretty high rates of speed here and on this windy road, that perhaps there is no being under the influence in a situation like this?
Well, and also we don't know what they might be under the influence of.
The mental stability, right? Too. Anytime you're running from police, you know, obviously you're dealing with some...
Whoa!
Very close there.
I think they got a spike strip out there, too.
Yeah, it looked like there was something there. Speed's down. We'll see if any of those tires have been disabled. But a hard right turn there. Wow.
Well, yeah, you saw the police vehicle there on the other side of the street parked, and then as the light from the helicopter was showing the road, it looked like to me there might have been a spike strip there. We'll wait to hear more on that.
And now on Topanga Canyon. This is Topanga Canyon, which is a major north-south thoroughfare through the valley, on the west side of the valley, but speed's really ramping up. North of 80 miles per hour now, still blacked out. Vehicles up ahead likely don't know what they're going to encounter until it's right there because of the high rates of speeds here. Oh, very close there as well. And it looks like there was some debris or something there I saw. And yeah, they're going to have to bring this. They really need to try to bring this to an end. Much more traffic on Topanga Canyon.
Now this is getting really dangerous. This person driving without lights at 90 miles an hour at some times.
Oh!
Whoa!
Whoa!
Don't know if we clipped that car or not. Came real close to it.
That was close indeed there.
Yeah.
Really high rates of speed here. And the Los Angeles Police Department knows what they're dealing with now with the speeds right through that red light. This could really end catastrophically, unfortunately, and for some innocent people out there on the roadway.
With those lights off, it is so frightening to actually watch this pursuit and see this driver come up on other cars, unsuspecting vehicles there, hoping that night sun can perhaps be somewhat of an alert to other drivers that something is happening.
And it's southbound on Topanga, just so for bookkeeping purposes here. Topanga Canyon Boulevard, southbound, coming away from the 118 freeway, out of Chatsworth, now heading in that southbound direction towards Woodland Hills and the 101 freeway. High rates of speed. We've seen some very close calls there. The speeds have been north of 80 miles per hour. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect being pursued here by the Los Angeles Police Department. It made its way into Ventura County, hitting the brakes there for a little bit. So let's see if he's going to make another move, making a hard left turn there. And that's onto Nordhoff, which Nordhoff is a major east-west street through the valley. So a southbound track on Topanga, a left turn, which is taking him or her now in an easterly direction on Nordhoff Street through the valley.
And you know, when you think of this person driving on like Santa Susana Pass Road at this time of night, there are not a lot of the cars out there. There's not a lot of people out there. It's a danger to this driver and to the police, but not really too many other innocent people. This area of Chatsworth heading into Woodland Hills is a very heavily trafficked area. Even at night there's a lot of people that are out moving around on the roads, and all of them potentially could be innocent victims at any time because of this driver.
Hitting the brakes because he's got a red light, and now pushing through that. And again, the officers can keep track of all of these infractions, and hopefully when this individual gets taken into custody, and hopefully this ends safely, they can be charged not only for endangering the public, speed, but running the red lights as well. Those are all things that officers can do.
We haven't seen the LAPD as close as they were before. I wonder if they are now in tracking mode.
They may have, as I mentioned, because you saw all that traffic, Alex and Christine, and a lot of times they will do that just because of the safety issues with other people out there. And it appears even the suspect isn't driving quite as erratically or quick maybe slowing down just a little bit, hitting the brakes as he made his, because we did get a view of the front seat there. And again, we just believe it is the suspect, the driver in that vehicle at this time. Green light there, still on Nordhoff Street.
Yeah, Rick, we are hearing from police that they have pulled back, gone into tracking mode because of the danger here. You see a lot more motorists there on the road. Those lights off still, those streets are really dark there still, and you have other cars on the road. Perhaps it'll allow that driver to feel a little less pressure and back off those speeds, even though those streets are really wide open still. But perhaps that driver will slow down just a little bit.
Yeah, hitting the brakes.
That night sun, though, overhead, right, Rick?
That's right, and hitting the brakes more and not traveling at the super high rates of speed that we saw. But that tracking mode, what it means is that they're still going to have an airship up there. The LAPD will still have a helicopter here. Going around traffic here, that's a red light right there.
Whoa, whoa.
So still driving very dangerously here, despite the fact, and I'm not sure if this suspect has looked into his or her rear view mirror, and it does look like a male driver there, and seeing that those units have pulled off, but the helicopter still on top of this and will follow this until this vehicle finally decides to pull over.
Yeah, and tracking mode means that they do continue to monitor from the air, but that it's just simply too dangerous to be right up there with that car. They hope that it motivates the driver to not drive as dangerously, to not feel as much pressure. So far, it hasn't really caused the driver to stop
right through
doing
a red light
things like running red lights.
Yep. Still running red lights, still at a relatively high rate of speed, just not as quickly that we saw earlier there, staying in his lane, so to speak, on the right there, thankfully, not crossing over into opposing traffic. Still a dangerous situation in the San Fernando Valley on Nordhoff Street, making a right turn now, which would take this vehicle southbound through the valley on Van Alden Avenue there. And that is a narrower street. You could see only two lanes, one north, one southbound lane here. And we'll see what happens. Hitting the brakes again. Well, on Van Alden, and now making a right turn. Unclear. Maybe this individual does know this neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, much more narrow streets than we've seen throughout this entire pursuit. This looks to be like it's residential, but without a lot of street lights there.
Yeah, and that vehicle still does not have the lights on.
They're going to ditch?
Yeah, we'll see if it turns into a foot bail here. At this point, speeds down. We'll see what this driver plans on doing, but clearly trying to circumnavigate this area. Now on Heather Lane in Northridge, again in the San Fernando Valley, slowing down.
Stop? All right,
see what happens, and almost clips that light. It appears that this driver doesn't know where he's going at this time.
Yeah.
You could just tell, just trying to perhaps get away, ditch the vehicle. Run on
It's
foot.
interesting to see those automatic sensors of the lights that are turning on around.
There's another one right there.
Around this neighborhood as well. Yeah, sometimes we talk about the fact that a driver will go back to a neighborhood that they know, sometimes circle in that neighborhood. It seems pretty clear from the way this driver is driving that this is not necessarily a neighborhood that he or she knows. And seems kind of lost at this point.
And back on Nordhoff, which is a major, close to that pickup truck there. Again, so many close calls on Nordhoff Street, which again is a east-west major street through the San Fernando Valley. Was on Topanga, which is the north-south, and you could see that vehicle still traveling well above the speed limit, passing those other vehicles. Again, now in tracking mode, we're hearing from the Los Angeles Police Department, meaning that they're tracking this vehicle from the air, but they backed off those units on the ground for safety measures there so that no innocent pedestrian, bicyclist, or motorist gets clipped, because we saw so many close calls already.
Well, we're coming up here on 10:30 very soon as we are watching this pursuit here of a stolen car with the driver with their lights out. This driver's been in Northridge right now, in Chatsworth, Simi Valley, of course, right now.
Stopping at the red light.
This is the first.
Yes.
Right, Rick?
Stopping at the red light. Let's see if the suspect decides to nudge through. Doesn't look like it. Waiting on the light. First time we've seen this. You're absolutely right, Christine and Alex. We'll see if there is a unit, an LAPD unit, tailing behind. Sometimes there's unmarked vehicles as well, but now just sort of blending into traffic here on Nordhoff Street at Reseda Boulevard, heading eastbound, I should say, on Nordhoff Street.
And you wonder if these other vehicles there, including this big rig, have any idea what they're in the middle of right now, which is a pursuit.
Making a right turn, now deciding to make a right turn from the wrong lane, and now on Reseda Boulevard. And that right turn would take the suspect southbound on Reseda Boulevard. Perhaps he thinks he may have gotten away. 18% on average if you look at all the pursuits.
Lights, so the lights work.
Yep, lights work. Clipping on the lights. The brake lights are there. The headlights are there. 18% on average, by the way, in LAPD's jurisdiction, pursuit suspects actually do get away. The vast majority of those are on motorcycles because it's easier to navigate around the neighborhood on those motorcycles here. So again, now driving pretty close. Maybe did run that red light though. There you go. I just saw a red light there. And traveling southbound on Reseda Boulevard here.
Yeah, you wonder if this driver, because they don't see LAPD anymore, thinks that they have gotten away. And you wonder how aware they may be that there's probably 5 or 6 helicopters above following as well. But this driver continues to press on as LAPD is now in tracking mode. You are watching the Fox 11 News at 10. It is now 10:30. I'm Alex Michelson with Christine Devine and Rick Dickert. We have special coverage right now of a stolen car pursuit. If you're just joining us, this has been going on for at least the last 20 minutes or so. We've been watching this driver. Most of the time did not have their lights on. Now the lights are on. LAPD was close up following that driver. For a while, it got so dangerous on some of these side streets that LAPD decided to pull back, but they are following this person in the helicopter. Well,
the good news here is the speeds are much reduced compared to what we have been seeing throughout this pursuit, getting into the 70s. Right now, obviously, the driver is
now lights off again.
And the streets, though, have been fairly wide open, allowing this driver to go, Rick, at pretty high rates of speed there.
That's right. Now on Roscoe Boulevard, they're making a left turn onto another surface street here. Looks like a residential area here in the San Fernando Valley. But we just can't. Krebs Avenue there. Again, a residential area off of Roscoe Boulevard. Looks like he's stopping. The suspect may be stopping. So remember, let's see.
Lights were off, so you have to wonder if they were maybe
there's that night sun. So there you go. There's the tracking mode right there.
Somebody's running.
Yep. Somebody's on foot here. So I'm not sure if that's the suspect or not. That could be just a bystander who was in the neighborhood there.
There we go.
On the move again. So stop now. Clearly, the suspect sees that he's being illuminated by that night sun. We call the night sun a big spotlight that is on the belly of the helicopters that can illuminate vehicles like this, like we're seeing here.
Here's what I'm wondering. We don't know if there was just one person in the vehicle, do we? Could that have been a passenger dropped off?
Could have been.
It's possible. It's very possible. We're trying to get a look inside the windshield there.
Or it's also possible that that was somebody who was outside, saw this happen, saw that, and just got scared, because that would be scary to have that happen through your neighborhood.
Lights off again. That's right. Lights off again. We're in Reseda, in the San Fernando Valley, in the 818, where we believe this is where the pursuit started, but then it made its way into Simi Valley on parts of the 118, the Ronald Reagan Freeway, then through the Santa Susana Pass Road, onto Cooner Drive in Simi Valley, then did a big U-turn. And now we're looking inside the vehicle here. I can't tell if there's somebody sitting in that passenger's front seat or not. But now speeds are up again, and it looks like this other vehicle, maybe they're just speeding too, speeding right past them.
You wonder if that driver may have thought that he or she had gotten away, not realizing that the helicopters were overhead. And then as soon as that night sun came on, it was pretty clear they were being followed.
Exactly, because it looks like that's when the demeanor of this driver changed. On Reseda Boulevard, still in the Northridge area, still hanging out in the same general vicinity, so it's very possible that this stolen vehicle suspect knows this area and went to an area, a neighborhood that he is familiar with, but now speeds up to 60+ miles an hour. Blacked out the vehicle is for a time. He turned on his headlights, was driving much less erratically, not running red lights, but now it's on again, being that this suspect obviously feels that he is still being tracked from the helicopter.
Well, again, this started out as a stolen car pursuit. The driver's staying, though, it seems, in this Northridge area-ish, wondering if this is an area that is familiar to that driver and comfortable for that driver.
Yeah, that's very possible, being that it appears that the driver is making circles around this area in the valley in Northridge on Reseda Boulevard now, which is a major street in the valley there. It was on Roscoe for a time, on Nordoff, now Reseda Boulevard, and the lights are still out in this vehicle. Still a dangerous pursuit. Officers don't know what they're dealing with. This obviously, suspects like this aren't in the right frame of mind because they're running from police, and they run because they feel they can get away. And the longer they run and they're out of the custody of police, that means they're not going to in jail.
So we're not too far from Cal State Northridge as we continue to drive right now through the Northridge area. It's interesting, this driver has not chosen to go in directions towards the 101 freeway or the 405 or the 170, but in recent times has remained on some of these side streets, but driving at pretty fast speeds in the process, driving without lights on, and seeing a little bit more traffic here.
That's right. And Reseda Boulevard is a north-south street, too, in the San Fernando Valley, connecting with both the 101 freeway to the south end of the valley and the 118, the Ronald Reagan freeway, on the north side. Now crossing over against traffic there, driving erratically yet again. At speeds well above the speed limit. Green light there, thankfully, but we've seen this driver just rush through red lights, narrowly missing some other vehicles.
Well, you know, I guess I was wrong. I guess it wasn't a spike strip coming out of the Santa Susana Pass there. And we also knew that there was an attempt at one earlier that apparently didn't work. So. Yeah. Looks like this driver has free rein to keep going on this pursuit.
Yeah, those tires look in pretty good shape, at least at this point. Red light, wow, right through that intersection there. Reseda Boulevard at Chatsworth Street, still in Northridge. And again, this could still end very badly here. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Los Angeles Police Department chooses to do here, because obviously still driving in a way that could harm other individuals out there, innocent people out there. For a time, it looked like them backing off. You can see some people out there now that it's staying in the same area. You see that. People come out of their homes to see what's going on and watch it from their corner there, which is a dangerous situation, too. You want to stay away, stay inside, rushing through another red light there, and that is an on-ramp to the freeway there in Porter Ranch, back up towards the 180.
Oh, wow.
Hit the brakes hard there, because he saw that opposing traffic there. He ran that red light there.
Well, you feel for those other drivers there who are thinking, what just happened there?
Yeah, that's right. The Reseda Boulevard there, that's the north end of the valley, heading northbound on Reseda Boulevard in Porter Ranch, just past the 118 freeway. The driver had an opportunity to hop back on the 118 freeway. They didn't, and now they're going to be up right against the Santa Susana Mountains there in the far north end of the San Fernando Valley.
So this driver, who does not appear to be very concerned with anybody else's safety, continues to drive in very reckless, dangerous ways, driving through almost every red light, driving without headlights on, barely missing many drivers along the way. At one point, this person may have clipped somebody. It was kind of unclear.
Very close.
Thankfully, no serious injuries so far. But the way this person is driving, the chances of that are pretty high.
We just saw it with that last intersection there, Alex and Christine. You could see he had to hit the brakes hard to avoid those vehicles that were coming at him on both sides, almost T-boning the vehicle there. Still on Reseda Boulevard in the Porter Ranch area. That's the north end of the San Fernando Valley. This pursuit has covered a lot of real estate in the valley, on the 118 freeway, through Simi Valley, on Cooner Drive, through the Santa Susana Pass, on Santa Susana Pass Road there. And thankfully, like you said, Alex, Christine, that we haven't seen any real bad collisions yet or anybody getting perhaps seriously injured at this time. LAPD, the lead agency on this pursuit, a stolen vehicle suspect.
So yet another community now, Porter Ranch here, as we see this motorist showing no signs of bringing this pursuit to an end. Lights again back off. You know, we watch this driver just drive and drive and drive. You have to wonder how this car was stolen. Was it from a family member, somebody they know? Was it just, you know, taken?
You're right.
Unknown person.
We don't know the details on that as of yet. But now on Cessnon Boulevard, that's right up against, as I said, the Santa Susana Mountains there on the far north end of the San Fernando Valley in the Porter Ranch area. And Cessnon runs mostly east-west through the valley there. Coming off Reseda Boulevard onto Cessnon, high rates of speed again. You can see our extreme nav system. We're on it here for you. You can see the actual location in addition to the speed of this vehicle.
And if drivers were behind this vehicle, this is the kind of area where a pit maneuver would be possible. Kind of fast for that right now, but there have been times where this driver has slowed down. This is the kind of area where you would try to employ something like that, but because those officers are in tracking mode and not up on this driver, they can't do that. They're basically just letting this person go.
And they're watching this at a command center. There's officers that are watching this from their station or their command center to see exactly where it goes, watching our media coverage, getting relayed reports from the LAPD airship. High rates of speed again. Look at him go there, 70 miles an hour on Cessnon Boulevard there through Porter Ranch in the north end of the San Fernando Valley. Again, this is an east-west street, 2 lanes in both directions. See if that was a red light, couldn't tell at this point. But what I can tell and what we could see here, still no lights on, and the volume here again is relatively light.
Well, you can only wonder how this one's going to end. This is an older model car. Don't know how much gas was in the car when this car was stolen. Hopefully, maybe not a lot of gas, and they'll run out of gas, and this will come to an end. This is a Honda, I believe a blue Honda, like I said, older model.
Maybe a Civic or yeah, possibly a Civic. Through the red light again there. Slowing down, though. We did see the brake lights there for a moment. Still on Cessnon Boulevard here in the Porter Ranch area. Let's see what happens here. That's that dead-end portion of Cessnon there that's closed off. Making a right turn. Not familiar with this area either because he sees the dead end. So doing a 180 there, making a U-turn and heading back in the opposite direction on Cessnon Boulevard.
And we've seen pursuits where they just let the car run out of gas and bring the pursuit to an end, because right here, you don't have other motorists really in danger. Fairly wide open streets still. It's scary to have those lights off, and those high speeds have been very scary. But we have seen that pursuit come to an end when the car simply was out of gas.
That's right. You can see this compact vehicle. It could be a Mitsubishi as well. Unclear, but definitely an older model vehicle there. And these vehicles, these compact vehicles, obviously get much better gas mileage.
But how much gas was in the car?
Yeah, we just don't know that at this time. But getting a pretty good look at the driver there. And it does appear that he's the only individual inside the vehicle there. Looking out, looks like the window's down. Speeds north of 50 miles an hour. Still in the Porter Ranch area, staying off the 118 freeway for now, even though it is very close, and the volume continues quite light.
So we continue to follow this stolen car pursuit. We still don't know much about the person behind this vehicle. We do know that this person has been able to evade law enforcement for at least 40 minutes now. Driving throughout the San Fernando Valley, driving into Ventura County, into the Simi Valley area. Now we're in Porter Ranch. And because law enforcement is in tracking mode, this driver has a lot of latitude right now to kind of do whatever he or she wants.
Hitting the brakes. It looks like the right tail light is out, actually, there. Making a hard left turn. And we are hearing that LAPD is in the area, even though we're not seeing those units at this time. And they may be trying to set up some spike strips in that the vehicle is staying in this general vicinity. Now back on Rinaldi Street here in Porter Ranch. North end of the San Fernando Valley. Wow, look at that guy go by. That guy was whizzing by at 70+ miles an hour. But the driver here still making his way through red lights, still hitting the gas pedal hard, and still driving. You could see with our extreme nav system over 60 miles an hour now, really picking up speed. You saw that little pop there. That dip he hit, and that just gives an indication of how quickly that vehicle is moving at this time. Rinaldi Street in Porter Ranch, north end of the San Fernando Valley. That was a green light, thankfully, but speeds that we're seeing there, upper right corner of your screen there with our extreme nav system, if he comes across a red light again, he's gotten very lucky, and as have those other...
Here we go.
The red light right there just turned red, thankfully, so the vehicles on the opposing sides were still stopped on Rinaldi, which again is a pretty busy, heavily commuted stretch of roadway in the San Fernando Valley.
Well, unfortunately, this pursuit has taken up so much of our newscast on what really is quite a busy news night, especially with Hurricane Ian and local crime stories here in Southern California, the death of rapper Coolio. We had a lot to cover, and you hate to have that blown out here for something like this, and a waste of taxpayer resources to have LAPD on this pursuit for so long as well. You just hope it comes to an end, Rick, with nobody getting hurt.
Yeah, but it is so dangerous in that vehicle does not have its lights on anymore, driving at a very high rate of speed, has been intermittently running red lights, and has come very close to striking other vehicles. So far, we haven't seen any serious collisions, perhaps just some glancing blows, so to speak, here in the valley. But with every second, with every minute this pursuit continues, the likelihood is going to increase. And the hope was by the Los Angeles Police Department that by backing off, which they've done many times in the past for the safety of others, red light right there, they try to put that driver that was being pursued at ease so that individual slows down. Another red light there. Thankfully, no opposing traffic on Rinaldi Street at Reseda Boulevard, still in the Porter Ranch area.
So far, the tactics that LAPD has tried have not worked. They tried a spike strip. That did not work. They were following this driver closely. They got him into a cul-de-sac. The driver did a U-turn and drove right past the officers. They tried tracking mode. That, so far, has not worked. It got to a point where the person may have thought that he had evaded police, and as soon as that happened, they put a night sun on that driver, and then the driver took off again. So, thankfully, there has not been a catastrophic collision so far, which is the point of what LAPD is doing, and they do have the resources to wait this person out. But so far, at least, it has not worked in terms of a quick ending for this pursuit.
And with that LAPD helicopter that we believe is still up watching this, there's the pilot who just handles the aviation side of things, keeping that helicopter airborne and safe, talking to other traffic up there. Typically, the LAPD airship is going to be much lower, perhaps we would say when we're up in Skyfox, down in the dirt, because only 300 or 400 feet above ground level, where we're up well above 1,000 feet to give that LAPD airship plenty of space. But in addition to the pilot, on the right side of the helicopter, there is a navigator and another officer, a sworn LAPD officer, who is watching this and relaying all of that pertinent information to crews on the ground, to the dispatch center, so that they are aware of exactly what's happening. So there's two individuals up in that LAPD airship, Alex and Christine.
And so now into Granada Hills, and noticing the driver choosing not to get on one of the freeways, which is in the nearby area, the 118, the 405. This driver staying in the valley, Rick Dickert, noticing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Still in the north end of the San Fernando Valley. Granada Hills is off the 118 freeway and the 405, but now making its way closer to the east side of the San Fernando Valley. And again, the 101 was an option for a time. The 118, hopping back on that. The driver was on the 118 for a short time when we first picked up this pursuit, and on Santa Susana Pass Road, and on Cooner Drive in Simi Valley, and then made its way back into the San Fernando Valley. Lights still out, still high rates of speed here, still whizzing through red lights at times on Rinaldi Street here at Havenhurst in the Granada Hills area. Scary
seeing a motorcycle there, you know, the way this driver has been driving and those speeds.
any motorist.
Yeah.
Again, and if you live in the valley, perhaps in this neighborhood, just stay inside. Keep yourself and your family safe. I know there's times you want to go out and see it live and see what's happening from your own porch or sidewalk there in your neighborhood, but that just isn't safe. And again, if you're ever in a situation where there is a pursuit near you or a pursuit comes up behind you, you hear the lights and sirens, don't try to be a hero. Just try to pull over to the right slowly and safely and let the officers do what they need to do. And they're doing this from the air at this time. There are units in and around the neighborhood. They are tracking this in a command center right now at the local jurisdiction stations of the Los Angeles Police Department and relaying all that information to those units on the ground. And of course, the helicopter up above tracking it as well. In tracking mode, again, this stolen vehicle suspect through the San Fernando Valley, still on Rinaldi Street in Granada Hills. There's a 405.
From our sources, it appears that this is a male driver and a single driver, not with no passengers. Are they out of gas? Could they be trying to fill up?
Let's see what happens.
What are we doing
pulling
here?
into the Shell station here.
Are they hungry,
on Rinaldi,
thirsty?
Doing a little... Whoa,
oh, there's so LAPD is a lot closer than we thought.
That was CHP. That's California Highway Patrol.
Okay.
Now he's going to get agitated again. Now it's on again, on Rinaldi Street, opposite direction. There's another unit there. So now we know that the California Highway Patrol is involved. Also the Los Angeles Police Department. Perhaps the Simi Valley Police was involved for a time being when this pursuit was in the Simi Valley. But now ripping at a high rate of speed, yet again, agitated, seeing that officer trying to evade police here, opposite direction on Rinaldi Street, heading in a westbound direction.
I mean, we saw at least 2 or 3 other officers driving the other direction.
But what was that move going into a gas station?
You know, what is the mindset? What is the mindset? Did that driver, and again, we are getting confirmation that it's a male driver, no other individuals in that vehicle, but it's still a very dangerous situation. Perhaps that man thought he had gotten away again and was just trying to ditch there at that Shell station, but then did another U-turn and saw that CHP, California Highway Patrol unit, pulling into the driveway of that Shell station near the 405. I know that Shell station very well, not far from Van Nuys Airport there in the north end of the San Fernando Valley, but now heading back in a westbound direction on Rinaldi Street.
And it seems like every time this driver has been sort of lulled into a false sense of security, they've been reminded that they are being pursued, and then they get real aggressive again.
They get agitated again, that's right. And that was the reason why police pulled off in the first place. And it appeared for at least a short time it was working and that the vehicle started slowing down. They turned on their lights there. They weren't running through the red lights anymore and actually stopping. But right there you go. Right, that was a green light. Sorry about that. It looked like it was a red light on the pole on the side there. But again, this is still a very dangerous situation here in the San Fernando Valley. Our extreme nav system's on it, on Rinaldi Street, again, heading in a westbound direction, heading back towards the west end of the San Fernando Valley. Speed right now close to 60 miles an hour.
Let us just note that we have not seen this driver pull into any business, any location, except that gas station there. And like you said, Rick, we can only guess as to the mindset, as to what that driver was thinking. Did they think the pursuit was over?
Or maybe needed gas. Or maybe needed gas.
Maybe.
Or a big gulp or something.
Or a bathroom.
Or a bathroom. It's a lot of adrenaline, long time to be driving.
That's right. On Rinaldi Street here, and we haven't seen any units trailing this vehicle at this time. At least for the last few minutes here. Not to say that they're not behind this vehicle. It's hitting the lights again, brake lights there you can see, but that right rear light is out. There's a view inside the vehicle. Looks like the window's down. A male driver, and we believe that is the only individual inside that smaller compact vehicle, perhaps a Honda or a Mitsubishi.
Well, a long night here on Southern California streets as we witness yet another pursuit. The big scary thing here on this one is those lights being off.
Blacked out. It's so dangerous.
Very scary for other motorists who might not see this car coming, and with law enforcement backing off because of tracking mode and for safety reasons, that also isn't an alert then for motorists who have this car coming up on them.
And now on White Oak Avenue, which is a north-south street in the valley, he made a left turn on White Oak Avenue there off of Rinaldi, meaning he's heading southbound now through the San Fernando Valley in Granada Hills. But staying in the valley for the most part, the north end of the San Fernando Valley, Porter Ranch, Granada Hills. The pursuit did make its way into Simi Valley shortly after we picked it up. It really rolling there at a high rate of speed yet again. Our Extreme Nav system will tell you exactly where this pursuit is in the valley and the speed at which this vehicle is moving.
Wow, it's tough even for Skyfox to keep track with it being so dark on the road there as this driver continues to move through White Oak, Granada Hills, an area where a lot of people live, an area where during the daytime there's a whole lot of traffic, not too busy at night. But still a danger to people in this community.
That was a red light there, heading southbound again on White Oak Avenue near Devonshire Street there in the valley. Now back into Northridge, crossing over the center lane there into opposing traffic, which is so dangerous. We've seen a lot of close calls, but again, thankfully, we have not seen any serious collisions, perhaps just glancing blows of this vehicle with some other vehicles as well.
So we've been on this pursuit for about, say, 40 minutes, give or take. You know, I'm wondering how much intel police get from the thought that this driver has not gotten back on any freeways and is staying largely in this area where we've seen Northridge, Simi Valley, Granada Hills, Porter Ranch, not getting on freeways.
Which is good and bad. It's bad in that there's a likelihood that there could be pedestrians in some of these neighborhoods, bicyclists down below, and of course the other motorists on the freeway. You're not going to have that, but you're going to likely have a situation where this individual will be going at a very high rate of speed and still endanger other people inside their vehicles traveling on either the 101 freeway or the 405 or the 118.
The freeway would be better lit, though. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Running that stop sign there. Again, every infraction can be written up. He can be charged with all of those infractions, making a hard left there off of White Oak into a residential area, Gledhill Street here. And you can see primarily just single-family homes in this Northridge neighborhood here, and would be heading now in a eastbound direction on Gledhill Street here in Northridge.
And you know, Rick, we haven't seen this driver attempt to ditch the car or pull over.
Slowing down here.
Yep. But you have to wonder where this driver thinks he's going and how he thinks this is going to end.
Or how much he thinks.
Exactly. And if he does have an issue with gas, but clearly still blacked out here on Encino Avenue here in Northridge, slowing down a little bit. And again, we've seen this before, running the stop sign there, perhaps looking for that spot to get away, to try to get away, to ditch the vehicle, pull the vehicle off to the right, and then it would turn into what we call a foot bail. And if there are officers close by, they're going to be right on his tail there. Again, a male suspect, we believe, confirmed, and no other individuals inside this smaller compact vehicle, but definitely slowing down here. So we'll see what happens. Hitting the brake lights again. We'll see if he decides to pull down, but it looks like that was a red light. So looked at opposing traffic there on Nordhoff Street, which is the busier of the two streets. Encino Avenue, though, is the street this pursuit is continuing on.
Okay, so if this driver is staying in this greater area, this whole pursuit, wondering if they are thinking of trying to go to a location where it's home or someone they know. Are they on the cell phone with somebody? But I just keep noting that person did not get back on the 118, did not go on the 405 and take off to some other part of the county or another county.
That's right. And we've been covering this pursuit for almost an hour now, picking it up at the top of our show here. And we don't know how long it was going before that. But even our helicopter, typically we have about 2 hours, a bit north of that, of fuel on board before we need to get, Skyfox needs to get fuel. Unclear about the vehicle itself. Hitting the brake lights there, crossing over Parthenia Street there on Encino Avenue, still in the San Fernando Valley, the west end, the northwest end of the San Fernando Valley in Northridge here. But definitely slowing down a bit, Alex and Christine.
I'm wondering, too, how much LAPD might know about this car and this car being stolen. Do they know where it was stolen from and from whom? It is an older model Honda, blue in color. Wondering when they got word of this car being stolen. Is it somebody they've been looking for who's been wanted? You know, we don't know the details behind this and how much information they have as to who the suspect is. And do they have a cell phone number?
And how much that could be potentially impacting their strategy in all of this. Is it, if it's somebody just anonymous and they don't know who it is could be different than, like you said, is it a parolee or somebody that they've had interaction with in the past who they know a lot about.
And may know where he resides, all that information, but we just don't know the details of how this vehicle was taken. But perhaps this individual could be connected to somebody who is connected to that vehicle, and they've gotten that intel, and knowing that is on the side, obviously, of officers. Hitting brake lights again in a residential area, not a well-illuminated area, and the vehicle's not well-illuminated either because the driver, for the vast majority of the pursuit, has chosen to keep his headlights off at this time. Right tail light is out as well. When he hits the brakes, we've seen that as well. Now into a cul-de-sac. It looks like perhaps a dead end again, and doing a 180, so it's unlikely that the driver knows about this neighborhood either. And
So
we're not seeing any officers.
It is now 11 o'clock. Usually this is the time when we sign off and Jay Leno and You Bet Your Life starts. Today we've got the ultimate reality show game, which is a high-speed pursuit, the number one thing that people in Southern California like to watch, and it is happening before our eyes. What we know of this is that it is a stolen vehicle. We don't know much beyond that. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Christine Devine, and I'm noticing the speeds at a crawl here.
Yeah.
This is the first we've seen these speeds coming to a crawl less than 10 miles per hour. Is this vehicle running out of gas here in Northridge? Is this driver planning to ditch the car? All right, police there with that light from the helicopter overhead again to give us a better perspective.
Yeah, and it looks like we may have lost the vehicle here. Again, this is primarily a residential area, Chase Street at Oak Park Avenue in Northridge, and perhaps the vehicle did pull over. That could be it right there. Yep, behind that pickup truck. We believe that is the suspect's vehicle there. Let's see if that suspect chooses or has already gotten out of the vehicle at this time. Not seeing any officers on the ground, but we are seeing the illumination there. And we have these night signs on our... Nope, looks like that driver's still in the vehicle. Still in the vehicle there.
And a reminder to people that may be living in this neighborhood, watching this on TV, hearing the helicopters, stay in your house.
Doors open.
Doors open.
Now we're
just
doing a
cruising.
foot bail.
Running.
Foot bail. So now the suspect is just on foot, deciding to get out of the vehicle.
You have to
And
wonder
is on the move.
how close a police vehicle is there on the ground. They've been following this pursuit very closely. And is this a neighborhood that is familiar to this suspect, or are they just randomly running down the street?
Yeah, it appears that the driver didn't really know much about the neighborhood. Now crossing over, this is Chase Street. Again, a male suspect on the run now, having led officers from the LAPD and from the California Highway Patrol. We have to assume that this individual is carrying a weapon. That's what officers have to assume at this time. But this is very dangerous here. And again,
backyard.
if you live in the neighborhood of Oak Park Avenue and Chase Street, you're definitely going to hear all the helicopters and perhaps some of that illumination from the night sun there. Please stay indoors. If you see anything, call 911. Let the officers know where that individual is so that they can get to your neighborhood.
Trying to find some place to hide, trying to find some crevice somewhere. Did he get inside?
No, he's still there. I think he's trying to cover himself from that night sun. Yeah, he's trying to cover himself up there.
Well, hoping, I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night, so hoping people with their lights on there are hearing this commotion if they're asleep and they hear this.
Oak Park Avenue.
Yeah, you don't want to go outside and check this out. You want to let
there
police...
There he is. Let's see.
He's given up. He's given up.
Yeah.
Hands up. Police must be right there on the ground.
But his hand is, in his
There've got to be
left
police
pocket
right there giving commands.
Yeah, they're clearly.
There we go.
Hands out, and it looks like he's doing exactly what he's being told, thankfully. So hopefully he'll be taken into custody, and thankfully, Alex and Christina, at least from what we saw, that nobody was seriously impacted by that erratic, high-speed pursuit, rushing through a number of red lights at very busy intersections. But he's being given these commands and is abiding by the officer's directions here.
Well, that driver didn't have a lot of steam when it came to his ground game there trying to run. And obviously, we saw him trying to get a little coverage there from that night sun, that helicopter light. But it's amazing the view with that light from that helicopter and how much you can see. Police are obviously giving him commands to give up. It's over.
Are you saying this driver had not been doing his marathon training?
I understand the run was a little sluggish.
He was looking a little sluggish.
Should have done a little treadmill before doing this. So this person remains on the ground. It looked like there was a cop car nearby on the street there. Right there. Is that a cop car right there, or is it not?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, he's letting somebody know he's given up.
And
he's showing
that does
his
look
hands.
And right? what they'll do, they'll wait for backup as well, Alex and Christine. One officer isn't going to just go up to a suspect like that. They want to make sure that there are those backup units so that there's multiple officers on the scene to take this individual into custody. Because, again, they have to assume that he still could be armed, even though it appears that he is doing what he's being directed to do at this time. But that